And as we discussed earlier, from January of 2021, when Biden took office, through July of this year, Border Patrol has encountered over 7 million illegal aliens at the border. And I say encountered because in the left's woke Orwellian world, criminals illegally violating our nation's border are no longer apprehended. No. That's just too insensitive of a term. Over 7 million, plus all the illegals who were spotted crossing into the U.S. by Border Patrol but not technically encountered, those are called gotaways. And of course, this doesn't include the illegals that Biden flies in on charter planes in the dark of night, or the ones he created an iPhone app for so they can schedule their border crossings without having to wait online after waiting across the Rio Grande. And now, the cherry on top, Biden's Democrat allies are pushing to hike taxes on hardworking Americans, on you, and cut our police budgets in order to feed and house this army of illegals. But you know who Biden doesn't care about housing and feeding? American citizens and the hero veterans that put their lives on the line for this great country. The hardworking American families are reminded of this fact with every single trip to the supermarket, every gas station fill-up, and every single electric bill. They're all now astronomically more expensive thanks to President Joe. You know, since Biden took office, overall prices are up 17%. Groceries are up 20%. Gas is now over 60%. You think Joe Biden and Janet Yellen and John Kerry care? Of course not. Because of this inflation crisis, workers' real wages are down 3% since Biden seized power. And you know what caused all this? Biden's climate hypocrisy and corruption, literally printing trillions and inflating our dollar. And all to buy Chinese windmills and solar panels and electric vehicle batteries at a profit, of course, to Biden's donors on Wall Street and foreign companies like Burisma that made his family rich. But unlike Wall Street, you know who's not happy? America's most iconic industry, the legacy of Henry Ford himself in Motor City. They're now in full-on revolt against Joe Biden's out-of-control inflation and absurd climate agenda. With the UAW strike set to expand into a second week, Biden won the White House on the backs of these Rust Belt voters. Like, these are the auto workers that voted for him. And now his overarching political ambition is to ban the combustion engine and wipe out their jobs. Labor, blue-collar workers have long been the backbone of America's left and the Democrat Party. But they're finally realizing that the left doesn't care one whit about them. But the real question is, are they realizing it fast enough? Guess what, though? Joe Biden has a plan in case those hardworking Americans realize the con that he's pulling on them. He'll muzzle them, silence them, take their constitutional, God-given free speech rights away. But first, to do that, he has to silence their top champion, President Trump. Having Biden's cronies in the Justice Department target Trump with one phony indictment after another, that's not enough. The Democrats are now actively trying to remove President Trump from the ballots, literally trying to steal the voters' constitutional right to vote for the candidate they see fit to lead this country. You know, whoever stands up against this fascism gets censored. And if Biden's commie czars can't do it themselves, they illegally sick their big tech allies, you know, those staffed by former spooks and DOJ lawyers, on you, ordinary Americans. And if, heaven forbid, somebody, say, I don't know, Elon Musk, for example, tries to stop this cycle of oppression by, buying Twitter and making it an open, transparent public forum, well, then the Biden DOJ will simply harass and sue them. And if someone dares put his whole corrupt regime at risk, such as the brave IRS whistleblowers testifying in the Biden impeachment, Biden's son will literally sue his dad's IRS to send a mob-like message to any other witnesses out there. So who benefits from all of this? Because most certainly isn't you or I. China. China can't compete with the innovation of the American entrepreneur. And while America's test scores continue to sink to all-time lows, Biden and his left woke loons are focused on boys being allowed to use the girls' bathroom and competing on girls' sports teams. Fentanyl is literally pouring across the border, killing and weakening Americans across this entire country. Where does it originate from? China. Why would China need to wage a conventional war using bombs and bullets? They can kill us with illegal drugs like fentanyl. Of course, as we weaken our own economy, we bolster China's, who has cornered the global market on all the natural metals and minerals needed for electric vehicles. And of course, there are all of our electronics at home, from cell phones to laptops. And who makes all of the components for wind turbines and solar panels? You guessed it, China. So, of course, they don't want us to be energy independent, using our own oil and gas, which would be, by the way, the single biggest boom to the economy. It would crush them if we stopped the nonsense of buying all the alternatives from them. We haven't learned anything from the COVID disaster. From the Wuhan lab to mask mandates, we haven't learned our lesson when even over 100,000 Americans die from fentanyl each year. Radical groups still want to defund police as retail stores across the country close because of what? Rampant crime. And our children can barely read and write, but making sure the boys can transition to girls and vice versa, that's a top priority. We continue to mandate electric vehicles, and yet we condemn our own energy resources. The reality is, I can go on and on all night, but it does have to make you scratch your head. Is it really about equality and saving Mother Earth? Is it really about human rights and fairness and inclusivity? Or is it really an end run around promoting countries like China and making a handful of elites like Al Gore even richer while destroying the very fabric of the greatest nation in the world?